Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. A very warm welcome to the day three of the GNDR Global Summit for Disaster Risk Reduction. It's a pleasure to have you all join us for this important session on from early warning to early action, making anticipation work at the last miles. And it's my honor to introduce our distinguished moderator, Mr. Jeffrey Levitt. Mr. Jeffrey is a grant management specialist at Charity Aid Foundation America, where he focuses on disaster responses and help manage the global relief navigators. He has been with CAF America since 2021 and previously served as a validation officer for grant eligibility applications. We are also joined by three eminent speakers. Ms. Dina Carolina Casiado. She is a Colombian lawyer specialized in tax law. She is globally recognized leader in disaster risk reduction, environmental governance, and public policy, serving on the global board of GNDR as a South America representative. She is the president of the Bogota Scout region and a professor at the Universidad Nacional de Colombia, where she contributes to shaping the next generation of leaders through academic excellence and critical thinking. Even she haven't joined, but she's about to join us because she's in one of our panelists. Our second panelist is Mr. Dr. Niranjan Sahu. Dr. Sahu is academically specialized in disaster management and has received International Intellectual Award 2010 from Indo-Thai Friendship Society. He has traveled to 25 countries for academic reasons. Dr. Sahu has taken part at the United Nations Global Platform held in Mexico, Mongolia, and in Geneva. And our third speaker is Mr. Olmait Idowu, who is a Nigerian climate advocate with over 13 years of experience. He has emerged as a leading voice in climate advocacy, engaging diverse audiences through grassroots initiatives, organizational leadership, and a digital platform where he is popularly known as Mr. Climate. As co founder of the International Climate Change Development Initiative, All Might is dedicated to building climate smart generation across Africa while addressing development gaps that undermine the resilience and equity. So, we are truly grateful to have such an accomplished panel with us today. So, just a housekeeping announcement. So, interpretation is available for this session in five languages. So, for doing so, first you need to click on the mute stage button, which you can find on the left side of your join stage button. Then choose your desired language. And I would also encourage everyone to share your questions in the chat box or Q&A section, and we'll take them up once we have our Q&A section open. With that, now I would like to invite Mr. Jeffrey to kindly take the floor and lead us through the session. So thank you, everyone, and over to you, Mr. Jeffrey.
Thank you so much, Ajay. I'd like to welcome everyone here to our session entitled Power and Change, Leveraging Local Resources for Resilient Futures. Really honored to be here with all of our panelists today. And as Ajay mentioned, the session will focus on local resources and disaster resilience. So as we have our discussions on localization throughout GNDR Summit, the session gives us a moment to concentrate on how the localization agenda applies to resource management. Local resources are broader than many people often recognize. They extend beyond tangible things like supplies or transport. As we've already heard in other sessions, local resources can come in the form of information. They can be local data, they can be community knowledge, things that tell planners what areas might be at risk or how a community can best adapt. Resources can also be institutions. They can be formal, like a civil society organization or a government office, or they can be less formal, just agreed upon procedures on how to handle communications or other logistics in the process. And simple personal connections with the people affected are truly a valuable resource by helping to extend the reach of risk reduction efforts in the community. All of these factors can help make decision-making at the local level truly valuable and effective. It's also worth including in our discussion, not just the resources that are locally created, but also ones that might come from elsewhere that can be locally managed. For example, how can funding or supplies that come from an external source be effectively managed once they reach the local? And how can we avoid pitfalls in how they're distributed to the individual? Most importantly, what options are there to use the intangible resources we talked about like community knowledge in a way that helps distributing the tangible ones become more effective. So joining me in addressing these topics today, we have our three wonderful panelists. We'll cover key enablers of effective localization, things like data and digital tools, disaster risk investments and financing, community knowledge, and how all of these tools can be resources in things like risk assessment and where we're going. We'll talk a little bit about engaging the private sector in resilience building efforts, inclusive and accountable local governance, and most importantly, how to integrate community knowledge into decision making. As I mentioned, for the format today, we will have a Q&A. First, each of our panelists will present on their selected case topic. Once they have all finished the presentations, we will open up the audience Q&A for discussion with all of our panelists together. So feel free as we go through to formulate questions and post them with Q&A on the side of your screen. But without further ado, I'd like to hand the floor over to our first presenter, Diana Carolina, to discuss fiscal governance and risk. Diana, are you able to hear us?
Hello, Miss Dinah. Can you please hear us? You need to unmute yourself to speak.
I can see you've unmuted, though I can't hear the microphone. Is anyone else able to do? One minute.
Sorry, Miss Dinah, we can't hear you. Yes, now may you please speak up?
Are you able to hear us now?
Hello, Miss Dinah, we can't hear you. Sorry, I think there is some internet problem from her side.
Would we like to switch and have Dr. Niranjan start us off while we resolve some technical issues there?
Good. Okay, fine. Yeah. Should I start?
Yes, please go ahead.
Am I audible? No.
Yes,
Am I
yes, we
audible?
can hear you.
Okay, fine.
Mhm.
So, good evening, good afternoon, and good morning to each and everyone as per your time, standard time. This is Professor Niranjan Saho. I am teaching here at Javier Institute of Social Service in India. Today, I am very much thankful to the GNDR to give me opportunity to talk on the disaster versus development from the community knowledge perspectives. And I'm just going to highlight two or three major, important components of the community-based disaster risk reduction (CBDRR). So one is because the time is very short, 5 minutes time is given to me, and I'll show you next this slide. But before that, let me tell about what exactly the community need for their disaster risk reduction initiative. One is in India, what practices are being done by the community in India. Just that I want to share with you. One is a self-help group (SHGs) in almost all parts of our country in India. Community savings group That is actually the savings and thrift group, it is so called, among the women, poor women in the community level. So they form the group to have some a small amount of savings and a thrift expenditure. So that is one of the ways to have the community fund to manage the disaster risk reduction initiatives. So community savings groups and solidarity fund, that is called local groups, fund pool, small on regular basis to create internal emergency funds for immediate post disaster liquidity. This is one. Second is budgetary allocation at the community level. What I have seen and through the presentations of during the global platform organized by UNDR in Geneva, in Mongolia, in Mexico, and again in also Brisbane. But many of the countries, they do not have the budgetary allocation for the disaster management, and some of the countries they have already. In India, what happens? We do not have disaster management exclusively disaster management department or ministry. After budgetary allocation for the different sectors, different areas like agriculture, industry, forest, railways, airways, and all that, then finally some amount, not substantial, the minimal amount is kept or earmarked for the disaster risk reduction practices, which is very neglected amount. And the disaster management has been a neglected sector, or even the, you can say, the field in almost every countries. But my point is here, the disaster management should be given priority while making the budgetary allocation during making the annual budget, which government of India is not having. Even also other countries governments are not having, but few governments already they have, like Bangladesh, they have already a department or ministry exclusively working for the disaster risk reduction. Third one is the contingency fund, setting aside dedicated local reserves that can be triggered instantly upon a disaster event. So then again, second point is insurance, like a risk transfer. Insurance is for what? Not to make up the risk in case it happens in future. Disaster is full of the risks. Therefore, the micro insurance, which is being practiced widely in India, so microfinance, through the microfinance institutions, the banks, the cooperatives, and the local level, village level, you can say rather, committees. So affordable, because the microfinance organizations, microfinance initiatives are much affordable, community specific insurance products for life, health, crops, and properties that provide rapid payouts based on predefined triggers. Parametric insurance it ensures the payouts to the victims. Then risk pooling is another initiative could be taken up. So these are the things which wanted to highlight. Then again, coming down to my the slides. These slides will see, look at this slide. This is because once the disaster does not happen, and in the community, and if disaster happens in the community, there are two different types of situations. Once disaster happens in the community, the economy of that community, not community only, the economy of the entire nation goes back to the years, maybe 10 years, maybe 15 years, 20 years. Example, for an instance, in Nepal in 2013, there is a massive earthquake. Nepal economy went back 20 years almost that time. They too, they are now, even right till now, they are striving a lot to bring that economy to the mainstream. Not Nepal case only. There are many other countries, even India including. So disaster normally takes the countries or economy years back. And if disaster is properly managed, that you can put the economy in the mainstream again on the on proper time. So can you change the slides? Yeah, this is the ideal preparedness of disaster. If the quality of life is going this way, and there is a disaster, that disaster happens here, and the lifeline will go like this. But there is a red color line curve. That means there is a gap, maybe a gap of some years, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. So after means if you want to put down the economy into the mainstream, so you have to take some years again. If ideal preparedness is taken, if does not taken, if you do not take the ideal preparedness, then your economy will go down. So this is because it is all about the community no initiatives. Again, one more thing I want to highlight here is vulnerability capacity analysis, BCA matrix analysis. Basically, who will do? Now the community. When the because the community is the first responder to the disasters. In India, when the rail accidents take place and the people die, who are the people come first to rescue them? The community, nearby the community people. Any disaster happens, the community people, though they are victim, and they are first responders. So therefore, community people, they need to be well trained. So and how? No, because community level vulnerability capacity metrics analysis need to be done. Disaster and development cannot go together hand in hand. If you go for the development, and disaster will bring you back. So in one cycle, both people are paddling in different directions. So that means if the paddles are the cycle is being paddled in different directions, development will never take place. Then if you suppose put in the same direction, the development and disaster. Can you go, next change slide, please? So development and disaster, if you put together, then the development will take place. So this is the actual disaster management. Then how? Please change this. And one is, can you change, please? Please change the slide, Mr. Ajay. Yeah, this is the disaster and development. So the local resource management, then diversity, then value preservations, and again also no most needed persons. You have to focus on the most needed persons. Then the use of local skills, eco-friendly initiatives, then local economy development. No emphasis is on local economy development, and then finally uh, people-centric plans and local resources. These are the no some of the I can say rather uh, points to be taken up for putting, if you want to put the disaster and development in the same direction, and bring the development and bring the economy to the mainstream. So these are the uh, sectors where you can give the priority. So with these things, I want to conclude my the talk here. Thank you so much. Next slide, please. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Niranjan. That was
Yeah.
I think, a great graphic showing how the development cycle can really be affected by disaster, depending on whether those financial risk resources have been invested in. Wonderful. Deanna, are you able to hear us? We're not able to hear you, unfortunately. Unfortunately, still not able to hear you properly. I cannot hear on my.
Sorry, Miss China, we can't hear you.
Mm, no, sorry, still no audio. Okay. Would we like to switch to Illumide while we give Dan a chance to test out the microphone? Illumide, if you're ready. Hello, Illumide, are you able to hear us? Unfortunately. Dan, would you like to test yours again? No, unfortunately, I still can't hear you on my side.
Miss Diana, can you please rejoin?
Okay, all right, thanks. I'm just taking a moment to read it. While we're waiting, I would uh, actually like to ask a quick question for Niranjan. You mentioned that there have been some difficulties with balancing resources between development and disaster risk reduction. Have you found any particular cases where doing those two things together has really worked out? Sort of that graphic that you had in your slides where the bicycles were going in the same direction. Ajay, are you able to hear me? I'm not sure if my audio is.
Yes, yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
So, Mr. Niranjan, actually, there is a question for you, and it's your framework clearly shows how preparedness can shift communities from decline toward improved outcome after a shock. What
Yeah.
are the most critical elements of ideal preparedness at the local level, and how can these be embedded into everyday development planning, particularly by integrating community knowledge into formal decision making process? So may you please answer, Mr. Niranjan?
Yeah. So one is what I had highlighted about the SIG and microfinance organizations, but community in India, as I mentioned, in not India, government of India only, there are many other governments in the world. They do not have a proper financial allocations.
Hola.
They don't have a craft a ministry separately, dedicatedly ministry or department for disaster management. But disaster management is integrated with your some other ministry like home affairs ministry or internal no affairs ministry like this. But why not separately exclusively a disaster management ministry is created in every country, because disaster management is that is should be given priority, because if you properly manage the disaster you can have a 2% no more GDP of each and every economy. So since we do not have in India, not India only, other countries as well, so therefore my point is community is should come forward to take the initiatives to take the preparedness plan of disaster management disasters. Then how? So that through the financial initiatives. How the financial initiative could be taken up now through microfinance initiatives, and also the self-help group. Self-help group in India is very widely being practiced by, among the poor women group. So that group is basically a very small amount they save in a common fund, and when the fund increases, they spend that fund for economic activities. But here in India, I can suggest that fund could be utilized for mitigating or taking the preparedness for disasters in future. This is one. Second one is
Hola.
microfinance. So through microfinance initiatives, because in India there are cooperatives, banks, and even also non-governmental organizations are offering microfinancial supports to the poor. Therefore, microfinance could be a game changer in the field of disaster preparedness. So these are the two things I am telling, because the community level microfinance initiative and the community level, that self-help group, these are the two ways through which we can take the initiatives to have a proper ideal disaster preparedness. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Lima. And that's I think, a great segue. I believe we have Deanna back, and she's going to be able to talk about some of these fiscal resources and governance. Dan, are you able to hear us with
Hola.
the audio? Yes, wonderful.
Yeah.
Well-
Thank you. Bueno, quiero comenzar diciendo que justamente esta presentación trata de un tema muy importante que es la resiliencia de las comunidades, y creo que el tema de la falla de conexión a internet, la falla con el computador y la manera de resolver representa justamente lo que somos los latinoamericanos. Personas resilientes con unas comunidades muy fuertes que buscan a través de las herramientas resolver las necesidades que tienen. Y bueno, comienzo con esto nuestra presentación. Este es un trabajo que hacemos desde el grupo del Observatorio de Responsabilidad Fiscal del Estado, generado por estudiantes de la Universidad Nacional de Colombia, la Facultad de Derecho y Ciencias Políticas. Y comienzo hablando que los desastres no son eventos aislados, son la expresión acumulada de las decisiones fiscales, institucionales y territoriales. Son en gran medida esas fallas en la forma en la que los estados anticipan, asignan y gestionan el riesgo. Porque cuando el riesgo no se integra en la planificación pública, cuando no se internaliza en los marcos fiscales y cuando no se traduce en decisiones presupuestales concretas, lo que enfrentamos no es incertidumbre, es previsibilidad ignorada. En ese sentido, los desastres no solamente están generando pérdidas humanas y materiales, generan choques fiscales, amplifican pasivos, contingentes y erosionan la sostenibilidad de las finanzas públicas, especialmente en contextos de muy alta desigualdad, como es el contexto colombiano y específicamente latinoamericano. Cada evento adverso presiona justamente ese gasto público y nos ayuda a una desestructuración de la inversión planificada y obliga a que haya unas reasignaciones de emergencia que en la mayoría de los casos no son eficientes sino regresivas. Siguiente diapositiva, por favor. Por eso, el problema no es únicamente la ocurrencia del desastre, el problema es la ausencia de una gobernanza fiscal del riesgo, una gobernanza que justamente reconozca que el riesgo no es externo al sistema económico, sino una variable estructural que debe ser gestionada ex ante a través de instrumentos fiscales, presupuestales y de inversión pública. Siguiente diapositiva, por favor. Hablar hoy de responsabilidad fiscal nos exige ampliar su alcance. No basta con hablar del déficit, de la deuda o de la sostenibilidad macroeconómica. Es necesario que nosotros podamos incorporar una dinámica fundamental, y es la capacidad del Estado para poder anticiparse, para poder absorber y recuperarse de los choques derivados de los desastres y del cambio climático. Esto implica avanzar hacia marcos fiscales que integren justamente el riesgo como un componente explícito, incorporar esos análisis de pasivos contingentes en la planificación, además de desarrollar unos instrumentos que sean de la mano con una protección financiera y sobre todo nos ayuden a orientar justamente esa inversión pública hacia la reducción del riesgo de desastre existente y la no generación de nuevos riesgos. Ahora, ahí tenemos una problemática mucho más grande. Cuando estamos en un contexto como el latinoamericano, quizás también como se presenta en algunos países de Asia, de África, de otros lugares del mundo, tenemos que enfrentar un enemigo más grande y es la corrupción que va ligada a la falta de una conciencia de prevención. Y eso es lo que justamente a través de la responsabilidad fiscal se busca evitar que los recursos se vayan a destinar a otras causas que realmente no son prioritarias, como si lo sería la prevención de desastres. Sin embargo, este tránsito no es únicamente técnico, es profundamente político porque implica redefinir esas prioridades, revisar los incentivos y justamente cuestionar esos modelos de asignación de recursos que históricamente han invisibilizado los territorios más vulnerables. En Colombia, esta discusión no ha sido algo abstracto. La situación en La Guajira ha evidenciado con claridad las limitaciones de nuestro modelo actual, ha mostrado las debilidades del Estado y la falta de compromiso que hay en el buen uso de nuestros recursos. Más allá de estos hechos coyunturales, lo que se revela es una profunda desconexión estructural entre la gestión del riesgo y la planificación del desarrollo y la asignación de recursos públicos. Esa falta de articulación entre prevención, entre inversión y entre control fiscal, justamente lo que ha permitido que los riesgos conocidos se transformen en crisis humanitarias e institucionales. Y esto no compromete la eficiencia del gasto, compromete la legitimidad del Estado. Y ahí es donde quiero que en la siguiente diapositiva lo explique mi estudiante Jaime, quien les va a hablar a continuación.
Bueno, perfecto. Frente a este escenario tenemos que hacer una pregunta. ¿Cómo transformar la arquitectura de la fiscalización y dejar el riesgo como una externalidad y si se convierte en un eje central de decisión? Es aquí donde nos proponemos realizar este aporte en concreto. ¿Listo? Entonces, para esto tendremos que desarrollar ciertos acatos. Primer componente. Es decir, convertir la experiencia de las comunidades, los datos locales, las dinámicas de vulneración en insumos para el diálogo y la sistematización en inversión pública. Los ministerios de Hacienda, los órganos de presupuesto no pueden quedarse ahí, dado que hay una brecha existencial crítica que afecta los territorios y los pone en riesgo. Para hacer esto y cerrar esta brecha, es importante, asimismo, en esta propuesta incorporar elementos que no pueden seguir siendo excluyentes como la marginalización en esta discusión fiscal, en los cuales está el enfoque de género, la interseccionalidad y las desigualdades territoriales. Esto es importante dado que el impacto no es homogéneo y no afecta de forma proporcional a todas las comunidades. Entonces, integrar dinamismos donde el ejercicio de inclusión sea simbólica es una condición para la eficiencia del gasto. Este contexto de resiliencia territorial debe ser entendido como un principio estructural de la política fiscal y como un concepto accesorio a la política social o ambiental. Esto implica avanzar hacia ciertos presupuestos. Siguiente diapositiva, perdón. Presupuestos sensibles al riesgo, sistemas de inversión pública que integren análisis propuestos, mecanismos de financiamiento y un esquema de control fiscal. En síntesis, lo que se busca no es un juego únicamente de la gestión del riesgo, es la capacitación del Estado para el desarrollo de unas condiciones crecientes donde está la incertidumbre climática, social y económica. Siguiente diapositiva, por favor. Y es necesario para eso tener estos siguientes componentes. Invertir en la prevención, donde se busque una decisión de la racionalidad fiscal, porque dado que cada peso que no se invierte en reducción del riesgo hoy, se multiplica en costos fiscales del mañana. Por eso es un verdadero desafío técnico de una voluntad netamente política, es decir, si seguimos como estamos hoy, reaccionando solo a las crisis, llegaremos a un riesgo de la gobernanza tremendo. Siguiente diapositiva. Bueno, ahora puntualizando específicamente en Colombia, tenemos un panorama de gobernanza fiscal del riesgo evidente e importante a partir de una crisis institucional y humanitaria asociada a la unidad de gestión de riesgo. Esto en el departamento de La Guajira, como nos lo comunicaba Diana específicamente, los cuestionamientos sobre la ejecución de recursos destinados a entender la emergencia, específicamente en materia de agua y seguridad alimentaria, han puesto en evidencia las debilidades en la planificación, el control fiscal y la articulación entre la prevención del riesgo y la inversión pública. Esto dio paso a que este caso refleje cómo la falta de una gobernanza fiscal del riesgo efectiva puede transformarse en una situación de vulnerabilidad estructural y en una crisis institucional, resaltando las necesidades de fortalecer un mecanismo de transparencia, responsabilidad presupuestal y un enfoque preventivo en la gestión del riesgo, específicamente en Colombia. Siguiente diapositiva. Y para finalizar, cierro con una afirmación que no admite matices. No hay sostenibilidad fiscal posible en territorios que permanecen en riesgo. Muchas gracias.
Bueno, entonces, siguiente diapositiva, por favor. Bueno, ahí nosotros encontramos una frase con la que cerramos, que es que la resiliencia no debe ser un componente accesorio del desarrollo, debe convertirse en un principio rector de la arquitectura financiera pública, porque creemos que si queremos una sociedad mucho más incluyente y menos vulnerable, necesitamos justamente que los recursos de los estados se destinen a lo que debe ser, como es atender no solamente las emergencias, sino a establecer unas medidas de políticas de prevención que nos ayuden a tener unas comunidades mucho más fuertes y no solamente quedarnos en esa parte de resiliencia, que como les decía, en Latinoamérica es una de las constantes, nos toca en nuestro diario vivir hacer malabares para poder sacar adelante nuestro día y es por eso que necesitamos también que estos recursos que tienen nuestras naciones realmente sean invertidos en debida forma y por eso es este ejercicio que queríamos presentarlo en un laboratorio, que lo estamos haciendo en esta ponencia, pero más bien es un laboratorio para generar una conciencia con relación a cómo se deben invertir los recursos de los estados, especialmente de los que somos más vulnerables y con menos recursos financieros. Gracias.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Diana and Hader. It was great to hear about how local knowledge can really improve the effectiveness of this government.
Mr. Jeffrey, sorry, you are muted. May you please unmute you?
Sorry, is that working?
Sorry, you are muted. Mr. Jeffrey, you are muted.
Okay. Is it one moment?
Ajay, we can hear Jeffrey.
Sorry. Yeah, please go ahead.
Oh, you can hear me. Okay, wonderful. Great. Thank you, Deanna, Carolina, and Haider. In the interest of time, I think we'll move on to Olumide, who is going to present for us on how digital tools can use local data to help resilience.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for this opportunity to share my presentation with you all. My name is Olumide Idowu, and I'm from Nigeria. I'm the founder and executive director for International Climate Change Development Initiative. Today, I will be focusing on from data to action. So I will talk about something that is very simple but very powerful. How we move from data to action. Because across Africa, we are not, lacking data. We have reports, statistics, satellite images, dashboard. But the real question is, how much of that data is actually helping people on ground? So this conversation is going to be about bridging the gap and making data work for people, not just for reporting sake. Second slide. I don't know whether my slide is showing. Can you see my slide?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so I hope somebody is operating it at the back so that I can just be calling the slide. Okay, so my second slide now. So what I'm going to be doing here is that when we talk about climate change in Africa, it is not an abstract. It is personal issue to everybody. It is the farmer who lose crops to drought. It is the family whose home is washed away by floods. It is the child affected by extreme heat. And I'm sure everybody on this call also know that this is affecting everybody. But here is the challenge. We now have more climate data than ever before. Yet, the people most affected are still what? Are still the least prepared. So, the problem is not data, like I said. It is the disconnection of all this conversation. And that is why this shows the African's climate reality that we are facing. Third slide. I want to look at the issue of the data gap, which at the national level, policy are being developed using data, but often in isolation. So at the local level, communities already understand their risks deeply. They know when the rains are changing, when floods are coming, but their knowledge is rarely included in decision making, and that is why we always find ourselves in this issue. So what we see is a mismatch: policies that look good on paper but fail in reality. And that's why you see the issue on the national policy decision and delusion, and even the local community reality. So what what we see is a lot of mismatch, and that is why the data action is causing the data action gap. So we need to look at the data action gap, a weak link between the national policy directive and even the local survival realities. Let's go to the next slide, which is I'm looking at the definition and defining the transformation. To fix this, actually, we need a simple but powerful transformation. We must move from data to decision and to action, because that is the only way we can transform the conversation. But the most important part of this bridge, or the connection scientific data with community realities, because data alone does not save lives. Decision and action do. So we need to start thinking about this organogram: climate data, which is the input; decision, which is the bridge; and even implementation, which is the action. So how do we bridge the science and the community realities? How do we bridge policies and practices to make sure that we have a bridging data and the impact on the people and to influence the activities that we are doing? Let's move to the fifth slide. Let's go by slide 5. The dual engine of insights. We often treat scientific data as superior, but let me say this clearly: local knowledge is just as important as we see it. A local farmer can actually read the environment in ways that data model cannot. Why I'm saying this, because we see most of our farmers back then in the olden days, that when they were able to know when there's going to be raining season from when there's going to be raining season. So when we combine scientific data with indigenous knowledge, we are creating an insight that not only accurate but is actionable. And that is why you see that indigenous knowledge is the ultimate early warning system that we need to look at now. But data, because data is powerful, but people make it meaningful. So when we see that data is powerful, then it is high time for us to now see that people actually make it meaningful when it's turned to action. And we start seeing that the developing generation crop mechanism, the tracking micro seasonal change, we start seeing that the understanding of all this pattern actually is rooted in the knowledge of the indigenous. The next slide, which is going to be my sister, digital tool kits that I will be doing for the resilience. So I want to also say that technology gives us a huge opportunity, and that is why we are able to sit at the back of our laptop or back of our iPad and everything to be communicating like this. Imagine a community that is receiving early warning through SMS, because technology needs to be evolving. Imagine a local people using mobile phone to report flooding in real times. Imagine people open dashboard that everyone can access, so that we can be able to influence solution, we can be able to influence resilience. So these tools already exist, but the question is, are they reaching the people who need them most? Because technology only works when it is what? Accessible. And you can see this spatial awareness, ground truth, rapid alert, transparency. All these things are available there. But how do we turn it to action? How do we make technology only not work when it is accessible, but makes it work when people need it for to influence change? My next slide. Looking at this, I'm using in Nigeria as a case study. In Nigeria, we have seen what works very well. When communities are involved, in mapping flooding risks, we've seen that. When early warning are sent through WhatsApp and SMS, we've seen that from our meteorological agencies. When local reporting systems are in place, all these things are things that are in place. The result is clear: faster response, even reduced losses and better planning. So it is very important that technology, as it evolves, we make use of it to influence this change that we want to see. So this proves one thing, to that when data meets people, impact happens. So when data actually, when people see the data of what, or see evidence, then you see the impact start growing and start making. So that's a case study of Nigeria, where there's a lot of channel of using different tools to communicate to the local people that are the receiving end of this case. Let's go to the next slide. Shifting disaster risk reduction financing.
I'm sorry, Olumide, in the interest of time, would you be able to wrap up in the next minute or two?
Okay, I will do that.
Thank you.
Thank you. So now let's talk about funding. Most climate finance comes after disaster happens, but by then, our are already destroyed, lives are already disrupted. So what if we change that? What if funding comes before disaster, to prepare communities instead of just helping them to recover? Because resilience is built before the crisis, not after. So climate crisis is not just environmental, it is economy. So every flood, every drought, every disaster has a financial cost. So government must start budgeting for resilience, not just emergency, because investing in prevention is always cheaper and smarter than paying, for recovery. I will be ending my because of time. So I want to also say that private sector has a critical role to play. Resilience is not action, it's a system. So you need to make sure that data is informed decision, finance enable action, and communities implement solution. So because of time, let me just say that. So where do we go from here? We must invest in community driven data system. We must we must scale up digital climate tools. We must increase direct funding to local actions, and we must strengthen partnership. And importantly, we must put local voices at the center of policies, because climate resilience is not built, in a boardroom, but it's built in a community. Thank you very much, and let climate resilience be most effective when data meets people. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Olumide. So before we go into our key insights, there were a couple questions in the chat that I wanted to ask if we could get some really quick answers for, just given time. But there was one: how do we ensure data-driven approaches remain inclusive, particularly for communities with limited? Olumide, I was wondering if you could answer that, and then afterward, Deanna, if you could answer that, not from the perspective of data and digital access, but financial tools and financial access. But Olumide, over to you first. Oh, sorry, you are still muted.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, now we can. Thank you.
Okay, I think maybe somebody muted me. Yeah, I've already mentioned that. You say, how do we make data inclusive for communities? I think, like I said before, data is very, very key in driving community, agenda. Because I give example of how we need to invest in our farmer. We need to invest in how they channel their communications, because communication is very, very key in driving this kind of data that we are looking at. And when you look at financing is very key. We need to co-create data with communities by involving community members from the beginning. So we ask, what data matters to them and how they want to actually collect this data. So this issue is very, very important. We also need to use local language and a simple format to communicate with these people so that they can be part of to be inclusive. We need to also look at how we can leverage access to technology, because I mentioned using different channels from Nigerian perspective where they use SMS and WhatsApp, community radios and offline. So how do we also see how we can build a local capacity by training community members on data collection, analysis, or storytelling, or ensuring that there's transparency and feedback on all these strategies. So let me just also mention that we need to also, when we talk about data and inclusion, there's need for us to protect privacy or our ethnic, because we need to respect consent, we need to have confidentiality, and we need to make sure that data ownership by people should be something that we make more important. So I think that's one way that we need to, and I also said that we need to start financing it to come before this disaster, because it's going to be part of our preparatory action before all these things happen. So I think that's one of the things that I think we need to do when it comes to inclusion of community in data driven. Thank you.
Thank you, Anita. And at the end, would you be able to speak a little bit on how we can make potentially financial tools and financial access more inclusive in a way that helps with disaster risk?
How we can make what?
Oh, sorry, I was asking Deanna about financial tools and financial resilience.
Sorry, is that question for me?
No, for Deanna Carolina.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, can you repeat me the question, please?
Yes, sorry. How can we make sure that these fiscal risk, or I'm sorry, financial risk tools are available to communities that might have less access to financial resources?
Bueno, muchas gracias por la pregunta. La verdad es que si nosotros cómo podemos aplicar la responsabilidad fiscal dentro de nuestras comunidades vulnerables, yo creo que es la manera más directa como los estados pueden llegar a robustecer a través de la repartición de los recursos públicos dentro de los sitios vulnerables. Caso Colombia, por ejemplo, nosotros, el caso que mencionamos en La Guajira, que ha sido un caso de estudio porque incluso hemos llevado la defensa de algunas de las partes involucradas en la extracción de estos recursos, hemos podido evidenciar cómo justamente la carencia de los mismos conlleva a que las vulnerabilidades se agraven aún más. Por ejemplo, en el contexto de La Guajira, estamos hablando de que las personas no tenían acceso al agua y que llevaron unos tarros tanques que nunca se utilizaron, que nunca llegaron con agua, y eso significa que las comunidades siguen teniendo que caminar kilómetros para conseguir agua que ni siquiera es potable. Eso, por ejemplo, esa zona del país es la zona norte, donde impactan, por ejemplo, huracanes, tormentas tropicales y demás, y eso lleva a que al no tener ellos ni siquiera acceso a servicios básicos, obviamente sean mucho más vulnerables, y al ocurrir alguno de estos desastres, la magnitud del impacto que genera en esas comunidades es mucho más alta. Es por eso que nosotros vemos como la responsabilidad fiscal, que es una herramienta que tenemos en el Estado colombiano, que muy pocos países la han desarrollado de la manera como lo ha hecho Colombia, que justamente nace de ese espíritu de cuidar los recursos públicos, sea la herramienta que justamente nos permita capitalizar esta parte de la prevención y poder llegar justamente a las comunidades vulnerables del país, que es la mayoría del Estado, que es la que está abandonada y que justamente no hace parte de la parte de desarrollo urbano, sino que está mayormente centralizada en el sector rural. Estamos hablando que, por ejemplo, una ciudad como Bogotá, que es la capital del país, más del 60% de su población está en el área rural. Entonces, esto conlleva a repensar y a replantear la manera como tenemos que desarrollar país y cómo podemos, a través de los recursos públicos y de las herramientas de control, como lo es la responsabilidad fiscal, generar un escenario propicio para poder reducir vulnerabilidades.
Wonderful, thank you. Now, I know we've gone a little over. Thank you all for bearing with
Mr.
us.
Jeffrey, you are muted. I think we are already over time, so
Yes, okay.
you can. You're still muted. May you please unmute?
Yes, can you hear me now? Is the audio coming through?
Yes, I can hear you
Yes,
from
yes,
my end.
yes, yes. we
Wonderful. Okay, thank you. Since we are already over time, I would like to thank you all for joining us. Thank you for bearing with us with our technical difficulties. Thank you for the great questions, and many thanks especially to all of our panelists for engaging and informative discussion. And of course, many thanks to Ajay and GNDR as well for the session today. Ajay, anything else?
No, I think we can close the call now. Thank you, everyone.